partly because that enriches our life, but has many other applications. For instance, I will just talk a little bit about the ways in which, just 2 more minutes. Okay. This last year, I was flying American Airlines, and I found this thing in their flight magazine, board magazine, American Way, and it is all about how flow works in business settings and to improve the quality of working life. And that is also something that I just wrote this book called Good Business, and this is the cover of the German version of Newsweek magazine called Focus. And this is a cover story about happiness on the job, glücklich im Job. And this whole magazine was about the book. It says from the new book from the flow researcher, Michael Csikszentmihalyi. So anyway, these are things that I have really almost nothing to do with, but people are using it, applying it. This is Consumers Reports who, this little sidebar there says finding flow in free time, and they relate to how you use free time to health. This is a series of studies, partly I did, partly my students, partly they made it up, I guess. I don't know, but they are claiming these great health effects. And here is another one. For instance, this is by the American Arthritis Society, which has to do with, and they claim that engaging in flow reduces pain from arthritis, and they quote some of the work that suggests that. And actually, we have done research with women with breast cancer and so forth, and you find out that it's the same thing with pain as it is with, for instance, self-consciousness. In other words, if you are really into what you're doing, if you are able to, even temporarily, to get involved in something, which could be you're doing, or you passively get involved in music or art in some form, if you're involved in that enough, you can't feel the pain. There is no room in your consciousness to process the information about pain. And this is what this Arthritis Society claims. We found this with, as I say, women with breast cancer. One of my former students did research on that. So the question of, these are just some of the applications, and I could spend a long time talking about many others that I come up against recently. There has been a publication about how even schizophrenia can be alleviated through focusing and using your skills in a way that it's not either overmatched or undermatched. But I could go on, as I say, but I have talked for 45 minutes, which was the limit I was given. So I better stop here. And as you were told, there are microphones out there and around here. So I hope there are some questions, because some of the best stuff comes out in the questions. So I hope we'll get some good ones, okay?
I just wanted to ask about Nazism and flow, fascism and flow. Does flow automatically lead to happiness even when there's evil involved in the outcome?
Yeah, I think that's an essential question to deal with, because flow is by itself value-free in the sense that flow is a form of energy that can be used, like all energy can be used for good or bad purposes. Whether electricity, you could use it to connect it to an electric chair, and or you can use it to make your breakfast or illuminate a library. So the point is that I think it's important to understand how this energy works so that we can put it to good use, because if we don't put it to good use, then people will hijack this knowledge and use it. And people like the Nazis were very aware of how to manipulate flow for young people for their purposes. So it's important that we can harness this energy for the good purposes. And this was something Plato wrote about 25 centuries ago. Plato, quoting Aristotle in the Republic, said that the most important thing for teachers to do is to teach young people to feel pleasure in the right things. And this is something we forgot. We don't teach pleasure in the right things, and so people find it, that young people find it somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a question, because what you kind of suggest with flow seems to borderline with the mysticism. And I'm just kind of wondering whether you think maybe there's like a supernatural element to it or whatsoever.
Well, it depends. I think that I try to, using Occam's razor, to not to use entities that are not necessary. I would not use supernatural explanations for what I find. I think that people attribute supernatural sources to the states of ecstasy because they are so different from what they experience in everyday life. And certainly Eastern traditions of producing flow through meditation and through rituals and Zen are very effective in producing flow. But not because, I don't think because they're supernatural, it's because they're disciplines that get the body and the mind to take on challenges that allow them to lose themselves in this activity of meditation. Yeah. Okay.
I had a question about the external circumstances contributing to the possibility of flow, particularly, say, physical health or fitness or drug use. And if you've studied the effects of those types of things, of circumstances on the report of flow?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was looking there, but you're there. Okay. I personally haven't done much of that, but some of my colleagues, especially at the University of Milan in Italy, have done work with drug addicts and real severe heroin addicts, and also with people with severe disabilities like loss of sight, loss of motorcycle accidents where you become paralyzed, quadriplegics, and so forth. And I reported that in one of the chapters in the book. Very interesting studies that they did. Obviously, you change the kind of activity that produces flow when you get into one of those situations. And strangely enough, many people who lose the use of their body or their sight end up, after a while, getting more flow out of life than they did before, at least by their account, and they seem to be fairly well corroborated by their work, because everything becomes challenging. Things that before you took for granted, and every little victory of being able to dress yourself, or some of them become able to use their minds much better than before and get flow from their minds, or others, you have quadriplegics who become archery champions from the chair. They sit and they can use somehow. I mean, there are many, many interesting possibilities that people who are able to put two and two together can live a better life even afterwards. I don't know if that's what you were asking, but that's what comes to mind. Okay?